Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. How is everybody doing today? Not very well if you are a Democrat or a progressive. If you are into Trump, I imagine you're gloating after the life fest that we saw on the tube last night. Before I get started, actually, you know what? Let me get started by introducing all of you guys. First, E2247 from all over, welcome aboard. The Duck That Quacks, welcome aboard. Likewise, Eric Hayes is in the house, welcome aboard. We have Michael Rudnick from Brooklyn, New York in the house. Eric Hayes from Atascocita, Kingwood. We have, let's see who else is in. Lee Grant from Montgomery County. Yvette Avery Herod from Atlanta, Georgia. Are you still in Puerto Rico? Yvette? And let's see what else we got here. I got quite a few more here. If I miss you, forgive me, but I am a little bit, I don't want to say frazzled is not the word. I think it's more pissed, but we'll talk about that later on. Lizard Queen as well is in the house. Lee Grant in the house. All right. Let's go ahead and start. Michael Ruddin says, anyone watch yesterday's presidential debate? I found myself trying, then struggled to get through it, only to give up halfway through. Trump was the usual horrible person, focused on retribution, lying with every second reply. No surprises there, but that CNN failed to live fact check him was journalistic malpractice on display. That said, Biden was wrong. With Biden, I could barely understand every fifth word he was saying. The news is saying Biden had a cold. That's not true. Look at how he sounded in Atlanta, in North Carolina today. We don't need to hear that crap. We need truth from now on, going forward. Had no damn cold. Yeah, I'm gonna call BS on that right now. Joe Biden lost my vote last night. I need a better tune than this. But Egberto for the screen. Let's go ahead and get what you want there on the screen. I am extremely upset, and you guys are going to see a few things that we're going to talk about today. It looks like we're blinking a bit, so I better try with the other screen. It says, the debate, CNN, Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Is this the best we can do? Let's appoint Dolly Parton and call the whole thing off. It's funny because if you really want to see the person that got a good piece out, Stewart had a good one. You know, comedian Stewart. What is this first guy? Jon Stewart had a good one out for everybody to see. It was funny as hell. All right. Second one from Michael Rudden. Newsweek. Joe Biden's voice during the debate raised eyebrows. Biden's answer, however, was overshadowed by the sound of his raspy, shallow voice, with some critics asking if it was a sign that the president was ill. An aide for Biden told Newsweek late Tuesday night that the president was battling a cold during the debate. But he was able to shout as he read the teleprompter in North Carolina. We need to stop the BS, as brother Michael Rudnin said. But we're going to get into this a little deeper in a little bit. The Guardian. The reality of the 2024 presidential contest is setting in now that the first debate of the election cycle showcased the two main options voters have in November. Joe Biden, apparently sick with a cold, BS, mumbled through the debate, failing to land otherwise well-crafted lines. Not only are they well-crafted, they were well-ready. I mean, Donald Trump gave him so many balls in the strike zone that this guy could have put Donald Trump on his back. But again, all right. Donald Trump, a prolific purveyor of falsehood, repeatedly told lies and avoided answering tough questions. The prevailing reaction to the debate was one of resignation and disbelief that these two candidates were their party's choices to lead the country at one of its most critical moments. But the difference is MAGA loved the lies. MAGA loved that Donald Trump has no scruples. They don't mind it. They just want that their cult leader wins. Felon and all, it doesn't matter. Key takeaway: Trump lies endlessly and expected for a politician so consistently fact checked. Trump repeatedly tried to sell falsehoods and half truths to voters. When questions were posed that would require tough answers, like one about January 6th insurrection, he deflected and talked about something he could attack Biden on. CNN's moderator did not fact check statements live. At times, when he avoided the question, they would reiterate, sometimes successfully getting Trump's answer. He falsely claimed Democrats want abortions up until after birth. He said without evidence that Nancy Pelosi refused his offer for National Guard troops in January 6th to respond to an insurrection. He said his administration had the best environmental numbers, whatever that means, and his promise that the retribution would mark his second term in office. All surface, he seemed to be a veiled threat of prosecution. He could be a convicted felon as soon as he gets out of office. Joe could be a convicted felon with all the things that he's done. He's done horrible. I mean, it's just amazing, right? All right, multiple sources, another one from Reddit, are talking about replacing Biden before the general election starts. And I hope Democrats do, as the longer the delay, the worse the outcome. Biden must drop out. For this from Slate, Biden must drop out. Here's how Democrats could replace him on the ticket. Sky News says Biden about to speak at a rally for after disastrous debate, and he was strong at that rally, and he sounded good. It would be nice if that's who showed up yesterday. Could Biden be replaced in the 2024 election? Of course he could, but he has to decide. I choose not to be selfish. All right, let's see. Bridge says no replacing. Don't plan B. This is it. He was on fire today, being bombarded with lies in 2 minutes would have anyone tongue so outlandish spew. Biden should have said, I need more than 2 minutes to address each lie. Again, Biden was great today in North Carolina on a teleprompter, speaking very, very well. Okay? The big thing about it is, well, I'm going to read my item a little bit later, some of the thoughts that I have. All right, scrolling down. The doc that quacks. Kamala can beat Trumpy. Get the hope. Forget that. Won't happen. Need Michelle Obama stat. Michelle Obama says she won't do it. Let's see what else we got here. Para ver. Scrolling down. Lizard Queen says, good afternoon, y'all. Lee Grant says it was MAGA's biggest night in a long time. You're so right about that. Yvette Abraham says, yes, I am. Stopped in for a few. Thank you for being here, my beautiful Yvette. Carl Cox says Biden should quit. If he stays in the race, Donald Nazi Trump will win the presidency and will help Republicans. And again, if he wins the presidency, it means he's winning the Senate and he's winning the House. Because for him to win, it means a lot of people not going to vote for him. They'll just stay home. It's silly for them to do that. And Eddie Glaude has a message for that in case he doesn't drop out, which I'm going to play in a minute. Mike Cisak says, I guess those fake fraud videos of Joe Biden before claiming they were fake now has said, no, they were fake videos. We showed the real thing. I mean, two things can be the same two things can be obvious at the same time. Let's see what else we got here. The duck that quacks, para ver, says not one elected suit wearing representative of the U.S. government that committed treason had been jailed or charged. All right, what is that name? Stygon Bergen Creek. I am still for Stuttering Joe. Look, if Joe stays in, of course I'm voting for Joe. My problem is the other people. What are they gonna do? Paul Fleming, welcome aboard from Powder Springs, Georgia. Michael Segberto, just one more. Okay, I'll put it on the screen. That was from which one? From the Daily Show. I saw that one, but I can't put that on right now. I saw that one from the Daily Show. It was really funny as hell, but it's is going to corrupt my system. Can't do that one right now, my dear brother. All right, let's see what else we got here. Biden was fact checked hard yesterday at CNN. Biden didn't say much that was true. That's not true at all. Actually, it was 35. At the first glance, it was 35 lies by Trump and 9 miscommunications by Biden. 9 versus 35. Okay, not even close. Breach. PolitiFact could live check Trump, but CNN couldn't do the same or even use PolitiFact live stream to use. They know Trump gonna lie. They did nothing to challenge the lies other than make him say again what the lies were off topic. Again, these media companies, that's what they do. That is what they do. All right. Beforehand, Eddie Glaude was asked a few questions about what do we do here? Where do we go from here? And what Eddie Glaude said was pretty right. We have to take care of this ourselves, whatever position we take, whether whether Biden stays on the ticket or not, whatever the case may be, we are on our own to save the country from the felon Donald Trump. I want you to listen to what Eddie Glaude had to say, and then we'll take it on the other side.
In a presidential debate at a time in our country and our world where the stakes are tremendous. And this is where we are for a lot of people who we know the poll show. They don't love either guy. But put this into some perspective for us and how we as a nation can look at this and say, how do we move forward?
See, that's the question. I was watching the debate in a room full of people here at Aspen. And as that exchange happened, Chris, there was this loud scream, no, stop it. Don't go down this road. And then I imagined young millennials and Gen Zers and Gen Yers watching that exchange and thinking we must be crazy. And then I drew this conclusion. Joe Biden isn't going anywhere, no matter how bad or horribly he performed last night. Gretchen Whitmer or Gavin Newsom or whomever's not going to ride in on a white horse and save our democracy. At the end of the day, we're going to have to take responsibility for this thing. We have to stop outsourcing the future of our country, the future of our democracy, Chris, to politicians. We're going to have to take responsibility. And we have to understand that the choice may be between an old, quote unquote, feeble man and a convicted felon, a crook, a fascist. And we have to understand that, and we have to do all the work that's possible, all the work that is available to us to keep him out of office. And that is our responsibility. So we could talk about how Joe Biden failed horribly last night. We could talk about how feeble he looked, how his mouth was agape. All that's true. But at the end of the day, it is our responsibility at the voting booth to save this country. And we have to do it no matter what.
And that is true. That is true. If Biden stays on the ticket, which it seems like the most likely thing that's going to happen, then it's incumbent on us to do our utmost best to get this guy back into office. My problem is there are simply a lot of people that won't go ahead and vote for the guy after they saw what they saw in the debate. And for that great performance that he had in North Carolina, in Raleigh, North Carolina, the question is, which Biden shows up? Which Bidens do you see? It is an issue, folks. And if we keep our heads in the sand, that will be a problem, and it will come back to bite us. Before I continue with the other pieces that I want to read. As soon as the debate was over, I must admit, I went ahead and wrote a blog immediately on my Substack, on my newsletter, because I didn't know what to say, and I was simply flabbergasted. So here is what I wrote, and I want everybody to listen it with the tone in which I wrote it. I called it, and this was right after the debate, Debate Disaster. The Democratic Party has a couple of weeks to decide, meaning after the holidays, right? I could not maintain my credibility if I did not admit that Joe Biden was a disaster in the debate with Donald Trump. Let's be clear. Biden is a much better president than Trump by orders of magnitude. Unfortunately, Biden was unable to articulate that Trump was animated with his lies, and Biden failed to refute them. Biden likely got more progressive policies passed and implemented than any other Democratic president. He restored the respect that many other countries had lost in America. He was the first president to stand solidly with unions and even walked the picket line. While I disagree entirely with his stance on Gaza, I wanted him reelected. If he continues to support Netanyahu's action, I can fight him along with my progressive brothers and sisters. Politics is not a fair sport. While I am sure that Biden has the intellect and mental acuity to complete another 4-year term in much better shape than our next oldest president, Ronald Reagan, did, the country may not want to risk it. The CNN flash poll from debate watchers is a warning. And if you take a look at the flash poll that I have on the screen right now, confidence in the candidate's ability to lead. A lot, 14% for Biden, 36% for Trump. Some faith in him, 29% for Biden, 20% for Trump. No confidence whatsoever, 57% for Biden. No confidence, 44 for Trump. That's nuts. That is completely nuts. Now, I believe many of Biden's poor numbers on the economy, the border, and other issues have a genesis in his age and the problems that come with it. In other words, many are projecting his age on their discontent for just about every issue. Again, it may not be fair, but that is politics. That is politics. The Democratic Party will have to ask itself whether Biden can recover from this debate disaster when the Republicans have already started spinning it as narrative confirmed. I don't have the answer. The following 3 flash polls from CNN must give us pause. Favorable view of the candidate. Before the debate, 37% for Biden, 40% for Trump. And these are people who watched the entire debate. After the debate, 31% for Biden, 43% for Trump. Okay? Who better address concerns about ability to handle the presidency? 48% Trump, 23% Biden, 22% neither. After the debate, would you consider voting for 48% Trump, 40% Biden, both 2%, and neither 11%? Polls can change. Americans know that Trump is a thug and a felon. Yet, many would vote for Trump. Can Biden overcome this? I have been writing about a Democratic landslide for several months, from the White House to the state legislatures to the municipalities. Republicans laid the path with their draconian policies, from book bans to taking away a woman's right to choose, to choosing to force schools vouchers, to mandating teaching the Bible in schools, and much more. They've laid the path for Democrats to run away with the election in 2024. While all elections are local, if too many lose confidence in the party's titular leader, that could affect down ballot races federally and locally. While I don't have an answer, the Democratic Party leadership must find one. While many progressives have been holding their ire in choices made to maintain unity, this debacle should not have been a shock. As a progressive, I was hoping for a stellar performance that, deep inside, I knew was never, ever there. The party, in my humble opinion, has 2 weeks to objectively assess the situation and determine if Biden has a chance. And if he doesn't, it is incumbent on them to do the patriotic thing. A Donald Trump election is the instantiation of Project 2025, the birth of FSA, Fascist States of America. And I don't say any of this blindly, not at all. I do not say this without hurt. But the truth of the matter is, we are at DEF CON. We are at DEF CON 1. Egberto Willie is long. I'll read it, my dear beautiful Bridge MCP. And it goes as follows. At the end of the evening, pundits were calling not for Trump, a man liable for sexual assault and business fraud, convicted of 34 felons under 3 other indictments who lied pathologically, to step down, but for Biden to step down because he looked and sounded old. At 81, Biden is indeed old, but that does not distinguish him from Trump, who is 78, and whose inability to answer a question should raise concerns about his mental acuity. Immediately after the debate, there were calls for Biden to drop out of the race. But aside from the fact that the only time a presidential candidate had ever done that in 1968, it threw the race into utter confusion, and the president's party's loss, Biden needed to demonstrate that his mental capacity is strong in order to push back on the Republicans' insistence that he is incapable of being president. That he did thoroughly. Biden began with a weak start, but hit his stride as the evening wore on. Indeed, he covered his bases too thoroughly, listing the many accomplishments of his administration in such a hurry that he was sometimes hard to understand. Of far more lasting importance than this one night is the clear evidence that stage performance has trumped substance in politics coverage in our era. 9 years after Trump launched his campaign, the media continued to let him call the shots. Heather Cox Richardson. And I think I just subscribed to her Substack. But I need to answer that because I understand what you're saying. There's only one thug in the race. And that because Joe Biden is old and cannot express himself well, and sometimes get confused in his answers because he's stepping over his words, etc., that gives an opening for Donald Trump. We never said, look, I'm going to give an example because life is not fair. Biden is old and he's having to jump through hoops next to a convicted killer. Or not killer, convicted felon. Now I'm going to tell you, life is not fair. And you fight within the parameters that the system gives you. Many people, I don't know how to say this without sounding like I'm just using a comment, but I'm going to say it anyway. Our country judges people by a whole lot of factors, whether they are women, whether they're black, whether a whole lot of reasons. And a lot of us have lost out, not because we weren't knowledgeable, not because we weren't capable, not because we weren't the best one for the job, but simply some external stupid reason. In my case, many a times I've lost out simply for my hue. Biden is going to lose out. Not again. If I want to read the first part of my blog because it's important, I said, and I made this clear, right? I said Biden. Let's see. I think Biden would make a better president than Donald Trump, orders of magnitude. And I also said in the article that I wrote that Biden, I am sure, has the mental acuity to. I said politics is not fair sport. While I'm sure that Biden has the intellect and mental acuity to complete another 4-year term in much better shape than our next oldest president, Ronald Reagan, did. The problem is that's not the world we live in. We live in a shallow world where these things matter. We live in a world where my hue matter. We live in a world where these other things matter. That is where we live. So I understand what Miss Cox is saying. Unfortunately, what she's saying, you get it. All right, Paul Fleming says, I'm going to give this soliloquy. Yes, Biden is an old man, but I'll take an old man versus a criminal any day. Here's why there was no fact checking last night, as it was happening only after the process. You can never trust a liar. Have you ever been over prepared for something? Now, in reference to Joe Biden, his age was a factor and his stuttering was a factor. Not that this man is not bright. I have an 88-year-old mother in law who moves very slowly but has an extremely sharp mind. I would argue to say her mind is sharper than my own because of my disability. I have short-term memory problems. Joe Biden is not a dropout. This is why we had another justice from Trump. After all, no one's gonna ride on us. Uh, the people are just gonna have to be smart in this situation. Biden has surrounded himself like extremely smart people. Trump, on the other hand, has surrounded himself with criminals. Now, had the black doctor became president in the Republican Party and then was convicted of 34 felonies, do you think that any of your Republican listeners would be voting him in right now? Hell no. No, they would have dropped him like a high hot potato and moved on to someone else. We have to do what's right for democracy. We have to do what's right for the country, and that's Joe Biden. I repeat, Brother Fleming, I am voting for Joe Biden if he remains on the ticket. But my brothers, there are certain realities I think we have to come to grips with. A lot of realities we got to come to grips with. And one of the things is that we have a tendency not to do. Today, I'm not even playing this show on Daily Kos because they are sycophants for Biden. I love Biden. I think Biden has been the most effective president in decades. But I also understand politics and I understand what things that have to be done. I really, really do. And I'm lost. I'm looking for the party to do something they've never done before. That's what I'm waiting for. Ray Brackens, how you doing, my dear brother Ray? Talk to me. Let me get you on the right speaker before you talk. Let me get so you don't hear that feedback. Otherwise, we're going to get feedback. Come on in, Ray.
Brother Egberto Willis.
Talk to me, my brother.
Yeah, it was a somber day for progressives after that. You know, I mean, because the thing about it is, with these debates nowadays, like I said, I'm a recovering WWE addict fan, and knowing that Donald Trump was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, knowing what I know about his character, this man draws off of, you know, the crowd, the aha, the boo, you know. Even though the funny thing about Trump in this debate, even though he didn't have a crowd, he's even learned how to draw off of a crowd that isn't there. He knows how to draw off of the crowd on the TV camera. This man he's a performer. That's what he does. And Biden showed how rusty he is. I mean, look, I appreciate Biden for who he is and what he can do as a leader. But if you're gonna stand up and fight this man on his level, which is on the mic, you gotta come with it. You gotta pump up or something, because it's like he really showed that he was worn down and tired. And as a progressive, I find it as a disservice to me, out here, in the streets trying to push, hey, we need to defeat Trump. But if you look at what we just saw, it's going to be hard for every progressive nationally to try to push everything, because usually it starts from the president. Try to get people out to vote for the president, and then you try to push them down the ticket. But now he made it so hard to, engage people to want to vote for him. Now we definitely have to push everybody else who isn't Biden down the ticket just to be able to show them there's a reason to vote. Because, he did himself a disservice. You know what? His team did him a disservice, because they knew what they were putting him up against when they put him on that screen. They knew they should have went and looked at Trump. They should have looked at Trump's rallies. Trump is a clown. He draws off of that WWE style energy, and you need to bring that. You need to act like you're in a rap battle when you're with Trump. You gotta basically use that platform to tell everybody who he is. He's a criminal. He's a cheat. He likes to mess with porn stars. You gotta indict his entire character, because he's gonna do it to you. You gotta fight him in the dirt where he is. I'm sorry, yeah. Go ahead, Egberto.
No, you nailed it. No. Let me tell you something, okay? Because what gets me with a lot of folks, and I know a lot of our brothers and sisters here says, it's too late to move Biden. I mean, remember it was too late to move. Remember the issues that we had with Ruth Bader Ginsburg, right? Many folks were saying, we don't know if we're going to win the next election. We need her to resign. She was very sick with pancreatic cancer, breast cancer, and other things. And there's a certain degree, I hate to put it this way, but there's a certain degree of selfishness with these old people that are in our party who haven't allowed a young bench to be built. And that's why we get into these types of situations. Look, I am very politically involved in Harris County, etc. Many folks are like, hey, you need to run for X, Y, and Z. I tell folks all of the time, no, I'm here as an advisor, as a pundit. We have a lot of young people.
Egberto.
Yes.
Can I interrupt you right quick? Just for a second. I get the same thing, but continue. People tell me the same thing. That's all.
Yeah. And what I'm saying is this, Ray. I want you to run, not me. I'm too old now. I want people like you, Lina Hidalgo, Molly Cook, all our young millennials and Gen Xers, millennials and Gen Zs. You guys are our future. And look at what we got today. Biden versus Trump, and an 81-year-old Biden with difficulty. I have another video I want to play you guys, because one of the things that upsets me right now is the level of selfishness of these old people. Okay? So anything else you want to say before I play that video?
Oh, yeah. I do want to say, it had came on me that, if I hadn't been impacted by the criminal justice system, I would have ran for something. Maybe I should run for president, because apparently there's no standard there. But if I want to run for, say, a Harris County commissioner, there's a barrier because I have a record. And
let me tell you something
about it,
No, but you can run still. You can still run. Okay, you can still run. I'm going to tell you something, Ray. We need to make you a poster person for, I have an issue with look, we can take care of that. But anyway, let me go to this video and then we move on from here, Ray. Thank you so kindly for calling.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
Yeah, I got to get back to work anyway, Egberto, but I'll keep on listening. I appreciate you for giving me this platform.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you. Now, let me tell you here. Mark McKinnon Mark McKinnon, I think, was one of the most honest folks that just came out and said it, and I think more people should. Nobody is an island. Nobody is indispensable. Nobody is the only one who can do this, right? I do communications, but there are a whole lot of people that can do what I do. Nobody is an island. Nobody is indispensable. I want you to listen to Mark McKinnon and what he had to say, because even though some people may dislike what he says, it is a statement of fact. Check this out.
We're now hearing from President Obama about President Biden's shaky debate performance last night. He posted on X, "Bad debate nights happen. Trust me, I know. But this election is still a choice between someone who has fought for ordinary folks his entire life and someone who only cares about himself. Between someone who tells the truth, who knows right from wrong and will give it to the American people straight, and someone who lies through his teeth for his own benefit. Last night didn't change that, and that's why so much is at stake in November." Joining me now, Mark McKinnon, former advisor to George W. Bush and John McCain, creator of the political documentary series, The Circus. I wonder, Mark, if just that tweet tells us anything about the seriousness of the situation that Obama felt, or the Biden campaign asked him to tweet about it. What do you make of his message?
Well, listen, I think that's what he had to say. But the reality is, it wasn't just a bad debate. Last night was a competency test, and Biden didn't meet the moment. I mean, listen, people tuned in to see whether or not he actually seemed like he was 80. He seemed like he was 90. The only thing that's going to fix this problem is a time machine, and I don't think that one's available. And listen, all deference.
You don't think it's
Glaude,
fixable? I want to make sure I understand. You don't think it's fixable moving forward?
I don't think it's fixable. I think if Joe Biden continues to run, he loses. Period. End of sentence.
So in North Carolina, he looked vital. He was on point, on message. Let's say they do the second debate, which some people are questioning, and he has a good bite.
One day and not vital the next. I mean, you got to be vital all the time when you're president.
Some people argue that's what happened with Ronald Reagan from his first debate to his second debate. We just heard that from a Biden biographer.
Well, listen, Reagan was substantially younger than Joe Biden. I mean, Joe Biden, you can't be 66 years old in America and be a park ranger, but Joe Biden's running as an 80-year-old, and he'll be substantially older than that into a second term. Listen, he shouldn't have run. That's the reality. And the reality is that those people who are saying that Joe Biden should go ahead and run and say, it's too difficult to withdraw, are conceding the election to Donald Trump. That's my opinion. I think if Joe Biden runs, Democrats lose, and that's it. And yes, it's a painful experience. But if Joe Biden cares about the soul of the nation, he and Jill Biden have to do a selfless act. And if they don't, his act will go down as one of the most selfish in American political history.
I could not agree more. What Ruth Bader Ginsburg did was a selfish move. She knew there was a possibility that she would either get very sick or not make it through the term. And instead of giving Obama a chance to replace her, what she did is, again, it made it an issue before we controlled the Senate, I think is what it was. And we lost it all. That is one of the reasons we have a 6-3 majority. That is why we have a 6-3 majority. So anyhow, I want to get to another point, though, because when he mentioned selfish, I think that applies to all these older folk who are not looking past or looking back to those that they could bring up. There's nothing wrong with saying, I'm resigning so that I can bring the next generation up. All these old people need to be out of there. From Nancy Pelosi, even though I think Nancy is a hell of a speaker, but she should have had other people under her wings to replace her. That is an issue. Now, Doug Brinkley has some other words. Doug Brinkley is a presidential historian, and he has an interesting thing that he thought about, and that is Kamala Harris. Biden should pretty much maybe resign now. Make Kamala Harris take over the presidency and then move on from there. Let's listen to what he has to say, and then we'll take it on the other side. And I don't want anybody saying, well, Kamala, people don't like Kamala. Kamala can't do it, whatever. You don't know what in this field Kamala would do with women, all women, especially coupled with the abortion issue. What could possibly come off from this? Right now, everything is a wild card. It's all a wild card because we don't know which Joe Biden shows up. And I love Joe Biden. Joe Biden has been an effective president. Joe Biden has been one of the best presidents for progressives in a very long time, if not ever. So I get it. I get it. Let's listen to what Brinkley had to say because it has merit. Let's check it out, then we'll take it on the other side.
The big point I agree with, this is in Joe Biden and Joe Biden's hands. They have to decide whether they should stay in or not. People talk about Joe Biden being stubborn, but where does that cross over into selfishness? And
they're wondering if he's Ruth Bader Ginsburg here.
Well, exactly. And last night's debate performance was abysmal. It could not have been worse. He came out looking like a half zombie, half mole, standing up there, bobbling every single thing coming his way, having glazed looks. It seemed like then today, yes, we get the reset in Raleigh, but you're wondering if we're in need of a March 31st, 1968 moment when Lyndon Johnson said enough and I'm stepping aside. He had to do that, Lyndon Johnson. There wasn't anybody forcing him to. So Joe and Jill Biden have to really believe that this is the best for the country. And I don't know if they have other advisors, that people that could come to him and saying, let's break this open and bring more people into the mix. So he owns the party, and it's going to be up to him what card he plays.
One thing that I was struck by, and we saw this on air, on our own air here at MSNBC, but also I heard this from people in the political world. People love Joe Biden. They think he has done a great job, and he has the numbers to prove it. He has been a good president. He's made bipartisan deals. He's made the economy better. Things are on an upward trajectory, and they like him a lot. But they also feel like it's just time for him to step aside. They feel sadness. They also feel fear, because this idea that Donald Trump is a threat is something the Biden team says, Democrats say, but a lot of people out there who want to vote for the Democrat or vote for anybody but Trump believe that as well. And there's fear that if Joe Biden continues on, that Donald Trump is going to be president.
There is fear. And look, we didn't have the third party aspect last night, but with the one the ABC's doing, you might have John
if
Kennedy
there is that
Jr.
debate
thrown in there. Yeah, if there is that even. And so you're going to see teleprompter Joe Biden. They're just going to do this. Repeat, teleprompter, keep him off talk shows, news shows. Don't have anything. Is that
a good idea?
That's where we're at. And if not, he would have to pot. There are a couple scenarios, him stepping down and letting Kamala Harris be president, giving her a big boost and making the history of the first woman president in the United States and creating excitement with women, minorities, et cetera, with that. Or break it open in August, which is tough because there's not one other option to Biden. There are like 15 of them.
1968 was a disaster. Hubert Humphrey was a disaster. And that's what happened after LBJ stepped aside. We're going to talk about 1968 and open conventions.
Absolutely. So I mean, and I think, let me tell you, the fact of the matter is it's a wild card now because, like I said, and Bridge, I want to mention something because you were excited about how he sounded in North Carolina, but you're a news junkie like we are. And by the way, Melanie Keelan, I am still positive. My positive is going to come as far as we all have to follow what Eddie Glaude had to say. We have to get off of our butts and go out there and work it, no matter whether we keep Biden on the ticket or rather whether Biden stays on the ticket or he gives it up. But I like the Kamala idea and it making a big flip in the race. I think that would be magnanimous on the part of Joe Biden, and at the same time, I think it would create some excitement. I had some time to think about it after I listened to what he had to say, and I said to myself that could actually infuse some excitement into the whole issue. So, I mean, it is something worth examining. It's something worth doing some polling about. Because while the MAGA folks are going to bring up the race thing, the gender thing, they're going to bring up a whole lot of things on her. Oh, she had an affair with Willie Brown. Oh, they're going to bring up a whole lot of things. But the interesting thing about it is Donald Trump has made sure that nothing that comes out on you is at all positively negative, because he has done the worst things of them all. So that's a thought right there that we have to look into. Anyway, look, guys, MCP says, I love the Kamala idea. However, so many hate her. However, a woman, black, at that president, damn good. And she is a Spitfire speaker. And that's what I'm saying. It may bring a necessary excitement. And it's not a matter of if America love her now. I don't know if you remember during early on, she had gotten a big spike where her favorability was really, really good. Now we're talking about where Hillary Clinton didn't have an abortion issue to help her out. Kamala Harris has an abortion issue to help her out. In other words, there are a lot of people that will come onto her fold because of the abortion issue, and she's not going to be perceived as having a cognition issue. She's going to be perceived. So I mean, if she comes in and she gets a solid vice president behind her, I think it is something that an unselfish Biden could do. And Biden could run on saying, I saved the country and then I passed it along to a young woman. And with that, I am making history. I mean, there's so many ways that we could do this. Deborah Dunlap says, Kamala can, of course, do the job, but she has almost complete invisibility. She could have stepped up and raised hell about the immigration issue. We never heard anything from her down in Texas. She should have been here all of the time. The head of the Border Patrol said he had never even spoken to her. Why did they blow that off? That's not Kamala's doing. That is President Biden's doing. That is President Biden's doing. Again, the buck stops with the president. And if he told Kamala, I want you to have more exposure down there, remember, the way it works is they try to hide the vice president. The vice president is one of the worst jobs to have because they push you around. They put you where they give you all the odd jobs to do. And if the reason they didn't put her in Texas is they didn't want to draw the attention. So all of that is on the president. It's all on the president, Deborah Dunlap. I promise you it's all on the president. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Bree says she likes it. So yeah, I think I like that thing, and I think that is where we need to go. I'm looking at Biden live in New York. And again, looks like it's time, folks. We have to get serious about this. Anyway, does anybody else want to call in to say their piece? This morning at KPFT, the calls came nonstop. I didn't get a chance to do anything other than people being concerned about this debate. But so, Lee Grant, keep free speech alive and make America great. Thank you for that super chat, brother Lee. I appreciate you. And I tell folks all of the time, my program is supported by progressives. My program is supported by right-wingers, conservatives, and MAGA. And you know why they support me? Because they know I love them all. All of them. All our peeps, they know that. Carl Cox says Biden needs to quit to save democracy from Trump. Progressive candidates like Sanders are the best. However, Raskin would be a good choice. Yeah, but right now, I think the calculations I like what the historian said. Maybe we need to look at Kamala Harris seriously right now. Maybe she needs to be turned over, and maybe Biden needs to do the magnanimous thing. And I think we have to start getting serious, and then we have to then fight like hell with the results. Paul Fleming says, I know I'm not a young man, to state the obvious. I don't walk as easy as I used to. I saw that. I don't speak as smoothly as I used to. I don't debate as well as I used to. The noticeable, more energetic president told supporters in Raleigh, North Carolina, but I know what I do know. I know how to tell the truth. I know right from wrong, and I know to do this job. I know how to get things done, and I know, like millions of Americans know, when you get knocked down, you get up. Yeah, but there are also times that it's time to pass the ball. If Biden didn't wait till he got this old or whatever, it's time. Look, I am not near Biden's age, and I am not going into politics as a candidate because I think that belongs with our younger generations. Come on, folks. At some point, you have to think country first. At some time, you have to think middle class first. At some time, you have to think society first. At some time. At some time. All right, folks, give me a call if somebody before we close out. 281-823-7747. If anybody wants to be on air, say something. 281-823-7747. One more time. 281-823-7747. Would love to hear from you. Again, thank you very much, Lee Grant, for that super chat. Age limit to, let's see, age limit to in SB age limit to leave. I hear you, Vidij. I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. All right. Am I missing? Did I not call out anybody? I think I saluted Steigen Bergen Greek. Burger Greek. I hope I said that right. Steigen Bergen Greek. Welcome to Politics Done Right. I don't think I had seen your name before, so thank you so kindly for being here. Let's see who else that's new that I hadn't seen before. I don't think anybody else is new. Paul Fleming Sr. says if Kamala wanted to run for president, she could have her St. Lin pro vice president. She hung around Joe Biden for the last 4 years, so no other young people wanted to run for president. Look, they want electric planes. What happens if sun is shining while you're up in the air? Does this guy know the difference between solar power and electric power? No, he does not. Again, he does not. But again, that's what we have. Anyhow, anyway, folks, country's in trouble now and needs to hope. So change the whole system coming in 11.5. Let's see. Steigen Bergam says, hi, I am new. A friend of mine told me about you. Well, thank you so kindly for being here. I love to get new folks into to what we do here. Please join the family. Anyway, folks, I got to get out of here. It's at 55 right now. So at this point, I'm going to say, please consider supporting the program. And how can you do that? You can, first of all, if you want to know all that we do, just go ahead and go to, hi, Patrick, welcome aboard. Go to politicsdoneright.com/info. And that gives you all the platforms that we have or that we promote, that we put our media on. Please consider supporting our program by becoming a patron. And how do you become a patron? You become a patron by going to politicsdoneright.com/Patreon. politicsdoneright.com/Patreon. Patreon is spelled Patreon. Alternatively, you can join our newsletter, and we need we have about, I think we're up to 121 or so paid subscribers. We have over 10,000 followers on our newsletter. It goes out to 10,000 people every day, several newsletters. But we only have like 122 paid users. You guys, the paid ones, subsidize the work that we do. We actually need, in order to get some help, we actually need about 1,500. So we're only at about 8% or about 7% of what we need. So if you can, please consider becoming a paid subscriber of our newsletter. And to do that, just go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Again, that is to become a paid subscriber of our newsletter. You go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, and I'm putting that in the post for Twitter as well. That is how we can go ahead and move forward. There's a lot that has to happen in the next 2 weeks. I'll be in Baltimore in a couple weeks, actually, for the largest progressive meet up with media from all over the media, consultants, activists, and I'll be broadcasting from the floor in Baltimore. So, I just want to tell you guys, thank you very much for supporting the program. Please, again, go ahead and become a paid subscriber of our newsletter at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. And of course, you can get our books at politicsdoneright.com/books and find out all that we have there. But one more time, I'm going to put the newsletter in there, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Anyway, I got to get out of here. My name is Egberto Willies. I want to thank all of you. Stay positive. Even though today was sort of a downer in that I wasn't the hoorah go forward. The reason I'm not the hoorah go forward is right now is not the time to be hoorah go forward. Right now is the time for us to start making changes so we can do the hoorah going forward for the next 4 months. We're in a transition state to decide what we're going to do. Whatever is done, we are going to be fighting hard to get the Democratic ticket, not just the presidency, but all the way down from the municipalities to the state and to the federal offices. We are going to be in a fight, and we intend to win. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out!
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.